Welcome back to the Sleepless Scientist, where we explore the universe one yawn at a time. Tonight, as you settle under your blanket or sink into your pillow, we're going to drift into one of the oldest, quietest questions humans have ever asked. Does space ever end? Somewhere above you, far beyond the soft glow of your ceiling, past the clouds and the atmospheric blue, the night sky stretches on. If you could follow it with your eyes long enough, where would it stop? Or does it never stop at all? You probably won't survive this answer, at least not as the same person who began this gentle voyage, because the scale we're about to imagine will pull at the edges of your mind like a dream trying to take flight. Before we float too far, take a breath and notice your own tiny corner of the cosmos. I want you to picture the moment. Are you curled up on a bed in Toronto at 11:42 p.m, or maybe sprawled on a sofa in Kuala Lumpur in the warm afternoon sun, pretending you're not about to nap? Let me know in the comments where and when this little trip finds you, and if you haven't yet, tap that soft thumbs up and consider subscribing. It helps this quiet channel grow like a star forming in a gentle nebula. The universe around you is patient and still, or so it seems. But as you close your eyes and imagine drifting upward, passing the cool whisper of the atmosphere, through the thin shimmer of the ionosphere into the black, you notice something profound. There is no sound but the thrum of your own pulse. Space feels silent, infinite, like a soft velvet theatre waiting for its play to begin. But this silence is a trick. Space is not a hollow void. It is a living, stretching fabric, shaped by forces so subtle and immense that your own life is bound to its rhythms. Long ago, people believed space was just a stage, a flat floor where stars and planets acted out a slow, eternal performance. Sir Isaac Newton gave this stage a name: absolute space. It was, he said, an unchanging arena. Time ticked evenly for everyone, and the stars were actors moving across a fixed backdrop. For centuries, that thought was enough to soothe the minds of astronomers and philosophers alike. But you are about to ride beyond that old stage. Close your eyes and imagine that the dark sky above you is a liquid fabric, and your body, your pillow, your entire room is a small pebble sinking into it. This is closer to the truth. In the early 20th century, Albert Einstein, the man with the shock of hair like a halo of static, whispered to the world that space was not a quiet floor. It bends, it ripples, it can even stretch. He called it space-time, and in his equations, massive things like planets and stars do not simply exist in space. They sculpt it, curving the very stage beneath them. Picture yourself stepping gently into that stage. Each footfall lands on an invisible trampoline. Far away, a planet pulls at the trampoline's fabric, creating a dip. You slide toward it, not because of a cosmic rope or a magnetic pull, but because the fabric itself guides you down the curve. It is gravity, not as a tugging hand, but as a whispered invitation to follow the path of least resistance. Now, while the stars drift like lanterns, a quieter story hums under everything. If you could shrink yourself 1 billion-fold past the atoms in your fingernails, beyond the heart of the protons themselves, you would find that empty space is never truly empty. Fields shimmer there, restless and shy, giving birth to ghost particles that appear and vanish in the blink of a cosmic eye. Scientists still argue whether these quantum flickers can explain dark energy, the mysterious force that accelerates the expansion of the universe, but they agree on this: the vacuum hums, always. Tonight you rest inside a universe that is neither silent nor still. Photons from the birth of the cosmos are sliding through your body, passing through walls, drifting like soft snow you'll never touch. Beyond the ceiling, beyond the clouds, the Milky Way is a river of light curving around your world. A few of those photons may have started their journey when mammoths still wandered icy plains, or when the first coral reefs blossomed in the shallow seas of a young Earth. One quirky truth: some of the starlight you see tonight left its home before human eyes ever evolved to see it. As you feel your breathing slow, let the scale of that time settle on you like a warm quilt. You are adrift in an ocean whose surface is the night sky, and each ripple is a galaxy. You do not need to hold on to any of this. Let it carry you. Let the soft thought of infinity rock you gently, the way an ancient tide cradled the first drifting life on Earth. The stars are your lullaby now, and the question of whether space ever ends is a story whose first words have only just begun to whisper through your dreams. You drift farther from your warm room, the air gone thin, and the blue of Earth fades to black. Below you, city lights pulse like clusters of fireflies, and above, a field of stars blooms in all directions. The sense of stillness wraps around you, and yet beneath that stillness, space reveals its secret. It is not truly empty. It is a silent fabric, stretching and alive, a subtle web that everything you know rests upon. Close your eyes and feel the gentle push of gravity from the planet you've left behind, and imagine it not as a tugging rope, but as a curve in that invisible fabric. You are sliding along a path written into space itself. Each heartbeat feels slower now, in rhythm with a universe that does not hurry. Long ago, in the candlelit observatories of the 17th century, astronomers believed this vast darkness was just an empty backdrop. Newton's laws painted it as a perfect, unchanging stage, an infinite grid on which the planets spun their slow dance. But that comforting certainty did not last. In the early 1900s, Einstein arrived with his quiet rebellion. Space was a thing that could bend, stretch and ripple under the influence of matter and energy. Imagine holding a large soft blanket, pressing a heavy ball into its center. The cloth dips, and a marble rolling across the surface curves inward. That is your planet, your star, your galaxy, carving gentle valleys into the fabric of space-time. The ball does not pull the marble simply follows the curve. You feel the sensation as you float. Now, a path guided not by invisible strings, but by a sheet of the universe itself, cradling you in its invisible geometry. And here is where the silence of space becomes deceptive. Even between the stars, in the loneliest corridors of the cosmos, space is buzzing with hidden life. Quantum fields ripple invisibly, flickering with energy so faint you could never feel it. Sometimes pairs of particles, virtual particles, wink into existence and vanish almost instantly, like cosmic fireflies playing a game of hide and seek. Scientists still argue whether this restless energy is connected to the mysterious dark energy that drives the universe to expand ever faster. But one thing is certain, even nothing is something. There is a quirky truth in the history of this idea. In 1948, a physicist named Hendrik Casimir proposed that empty space could push metal plates together because of its jittering energy, and when scientists later tested it, they found he was right. Nothingness had a touch, a quiet force pressing like the whisper of a ghost. Imagine that now, the very darkness around you is humming with invisible potential. As you drift deeper, feel the fabric itself stretching, like taffy pulled slow and soft. You are moving without moving, because space itself is carrying you. It does not need to be anchored to anything. It is the thing. In the distance, a soft glow of starlight drapes across the horizon, not twinkling here, just steady, serene. Let your thoughts rest on a question that astronomers whisper to each other. If space is a fabric, can it ever fray? Does it have edges where the threads end, or does it weave on forever? No telescope has ever found a border, no cosmic wall with a do not enter sign. Instead, the universe seems to flow, curving, bending and expanding, as if it were always meant to continue. Down below, Earth's magnetic field hums, unseen but protective, and the soft blue glow of the atmosphere fades completely. Up here, you are carried by space-time itself, a passenger in a universe that is never as empty as it appears. The silence, the hum, and the curve beneath your invisible feet become your lullaby, a reminder that even in the dark you are cradled by the structure of everything. The darkness around you deepens, yet it no longer feels like nothingness. It feels textured, alive in a way your eyes cannot quite see. You float weightless, letting the slow rhythm of your breath guide you deeper until the concept of up and down dissolves entirely. Here, in this silent ocean, you begin to sense the quantum whispers of the cosmos, the delicate murmur of existence itself. Imagine shrinking yourself smaller than a grain of sand, then smaller still, past the atoms that make up your own eyelash, down into the level where the classical world loses its grip. In that realm, what we casually call empty space becomes a restless sea. Invisible fields stretch everywhere, forming the fundamental stage from which all particles are born. Electrons emerge from the electron field. Photons, those weightless messengers of light, are children of the electromagnetic field. Even when there are no tangible particles nearby, these fields do not rest. They shiver with what physicists call quantum fluctuations. Close your eyes and picture this strange dance. Pairs of particles pop into existence for the briefest heartbeat of time, then vanish, annihilating each other before anyone can catch them in the act. They are called virtual particles because they can't be observed directly, but their effects, their fingerprints, are real. One quirky truth from history. In 1947, physicist Willis Lamb noticed a tiny shift in the energy of hydrogen atoms, a shift that could only be explained by these flickering virtual particles nudging the electrons ever so slightly. This subtle Lamb shift was like hearing the footsteps of invisible dancers in an empty ballroom. If you could listen with a sense beyond hearing, the vacuum itself would be a quiet symphony, every note a ripple of potential energy. It is as if the universe refuses to ever sit perfectly still. Scientists still argue whether this jittering vacuum energy is the same force that drives the accelerated expansion of the cosmos, the elusive dark energy. Some propose that this restless background hum is the engine behind the stretching of space-time, like a subtle wind inflating an infinite sail. Others think there may be deeper layers of physics, unseen and waiting, that will rewrite the story yet again. Now imagine yourself adrift among these invisible waves, and let the poetic truth settle in. Even the emptiest corridor between galaxies, the loneliest stretch of intergalactic dark, is alive with the pulse of existence. Your body is sailing through a realm that is never truly still. As you drift, you pass a region where starlight thins out almost completely. No nearby suns, no glowing nebulas, just the deep black between galactic clusters. Yet here, too, something profound is happening. Tiny flashes of energy, brief and delicate, appear and vanish all around you. You can almost imagine them as bioluminescent plankton in a cosmic sea, invisible to your human eyes, but sparkling in the theatre of the quantum. This reality has a comforting undertone. The universe does not abandon you, even in its loneliest places. The silence is only a mask. Underneath, a gentle tremor persists. Perhaps you recall a pond in the early morning, looking perfectly still from a distance. Only when you lean close do you notice faint ripples, the hop of a small fish, the concentric rings spreading out from an unseen leaf drop. Quantum space is like that, an apparent stillness concealing perpetual motion. Let your thoughts drift further into this idea. These fields are everywhere, not bound by walls or distances. They connect your body to the stars and to every invisible particle whirling in the darkness. You are literally suspended in a universal fabric that vibrates softly with life. The photons that will leave your room tomorrow night will ripple through the same ocean of fields that cradle you now. A curious, fringe thought has haunted scientists and dreamers alike. If the vacuum itself has energy, then in principle space might be mined for power, an infinite, ever-present source. Science fiction often toys with this, imagining zero-point energy engines that sip from the cosmic background. In reality, such feats remain speculative and hotly debated. But the notion itself is soothing in a strange way. The emptiness we fear is in truth full to the brim with possibility. Somewhere in the back of your mind, your pulse slows to match the unhurried rhythm of the cosmos. Here, far from the noise of human life, every sensation stretches. Time itself feels like it softens. You are a quiet observer in a space that hums with a symphony you can barely perceive. As you continue drifting, let your awareness expand to embrace this thought. You are not falling through nothing. You are gliding on the surface of something profound. Each fluctuation, each ephemeral particle, is a note in the song of the universe. Some of those notes are older than the solar system itself. The vacuum has been singing since the very first moments after the Big Bang, and tonight, in your quiet corner of existence, you are part of its audience. A last image settles over you like a soft blanket. The dark is not a threat, not a void waiting to swallow you. It is a cradle woven from invisible threads, buzzing gently, always holding you. You let your muscles loosen, floating in trust, knowing that in this emptiness that is not empty, you are never truly alone. You glide onward, weightless, and the cosmic fabric beneath you seems to stretch like a serene, endless trampoline. You have drifted into a realm where gravity's secret language reveals itself in curves and arcs rather than in pulls and tugs. There is no rope, no invisible hand gripping your ankles and dragging you toward a planet or star. Instead, you follow the gentle dips and slopes of space-time itself, as if rolling along a perfectly smooth hillside that exists in every direction at once. Imagine yourself standing in a silent meadow back on Earth, dew clinging to your shoes. The ground dips toward a quiet pond, and if you dropped a marble there, it would follow the slope naturally. That is gravity, but up here, the meadow is invisible and the marble is you. Each planet, each star, each black hole carves a gentle valley in this universal sheet. This is the trampoline of gravity. You ride its unseen curves, feeling both free and tethered in ways that defy ordinary language. Centuries ago, long before rockets or orbiting satellites, our ancestors wondered why apples fell and the moon did not. Newton answered with a vision of invisible forces reaching across the void. Gravity, to him, was a pulling power, a universal handshake between masses. His insight changed the world, guiding sailors across oceans and astronomers across the heavens. Yet in the 20th century, Einstein whispered a different story, softer but deeper. Gravity is not a pull, it is the shape of space itself. Picture a vast, soft sheet stretched tight in a quiet room. Place a heavy bowling ball in the center. The sheet bends, curving downward. Roll a smaller ball nearby, and it circles the larger ball, trapped not by a tugging hand, but by the dip it cannot escape. Now imagine that sheet in every direction, above, below, behind, curving and bending wherever mass resides. This is the true stage of your voyage, space-time, a fabric so supple and responsive that entire worlds ride upon its invisible contours. As you float through this mental landscape, notice how your path bends ever so slightly toward a distant star. It is not pulling you like a magnet. You are simply gliding along the slope it has carved into the cosmic mattress. Every motion you make is a conversation with the geometry around you. Even the Earth, far below now, is gliding along a curve written into space-time by the sun's enormous weight, orbiting not because it is chained, but because it is following the most natural line a geodesic through the warped fabric. There is a quirky truth tucked into the history of this discovery. In 1919, during a total solar eclipse, astronomers sailed to remote coasts and deserts to test Einstein's idea. They photographed the positions of stars near the darkened sun and found that the starlight had bent, following the sun's warped space-time like water sliding around a smooth stone. Newspapers declared Einstein a celebrity overnight. Humanity had confirmed that the universe was more like a soft, living map than a hard, empty void. Let your imagination drift further. If space-time can bend and curve, then it can also ripple. Somewhere billions of light years away, two black holes may collide, sending gentle shivers across the cosmos. If your ears could translate space-time's tremors into sound, you might hear a note like the soft pluck of a cello string. Scientists still argue about how far these ripples might carry before fading completely, but in 2015, for the first time, humanity caught one in the act. The LIGO Observatory listened to the faintest shudder of reality, a whisper from colliding giants, and confirmed that space-time is not just a stage but an instrument. Now picture those ripples gliding past you as you float. They do not jostle you harshly, they pass through like a slow tide, stretching and relaxing space in directions you cannot quite name. Your body and the invisible lattice it rides both breathe with the cosmos, expanding and contracting by distances so small they are measured in fractions of an atom. And yet this is real motion, a music of the universe too delicate for most instruments, but patient enough to sing for billions of years. Beneath you, in this cosmic glide, lies another wonder, the quiet cooperating between mass and time. Clocks tick differently in the valleys of gravity. If you hovered near a black hole's slope, your seconds would stretch into elongated size compared to those far away. Even here, coasting in gentle space, you are part of that dance. Your breath, your heartbeat, and the soft blink of distant stars all trace paths written by the unseen topography of space-time. You might wonder if this delicate web ever ends, if there is a place where the trampoline stops, or if it extends forever, a sheet without edges. Scientists still debate whether the universe is infinite or merely vast beyond comprehension. But in every model, the fabric is continuous. No tears, no frayed borders, just an endless surface curving in response to the matter it cradles. The comfort of that truth settles over you like a blanket. Wherever you drift, the trampoline holds. A playful image passes through your mind. Somewhere on Earth, children bounce on a backyard trampoline, laughing under the stars. They have no idea that above them, on a scale too grand to picture, the entire universe is bouncing, curving and rippling in its own slow motion. The stars and galaxies are the children, moving not because they are pulled, but because they are riding the endless trampoline of gravity, just as you are now. As your body grows lighter with drowsiness, the distinction between yourself and the fabric blurs. You are a part of space-time, and space-time is the quiet hand guiding your journey. There is no rush, no edge, only the slow, perpetual curve of a cosmos that carries you like a lullaby. You drift, eyes half closed in this imagination, and trust that the universe will hold you as it always has on its soft, invisible trampoline. You drift even farther now, leaving the comforting idea of curved space-time behind, and enter a realm where light itself becomes your guide. Here, the stars are no longer merely twinkling ornaments. They are messengers, carrying history across impossible distances. Their photons brush against your face in imagination. Ancient travelers that began their journey long before you ever thought to look up. Tonight they arrive to tell you a story of ancient light. Take a slow breath and imagine that every point of light you see is a time capsule. The nearest star beyond the Sun, Proxima Centauri, is just over 4 light-years away. That means when its faint light reaches you, you are seeing it as it was 4 years ago, as if you're reading a letter written in a recent past. But most of the lights glittering above are far older. Their glow began long before your lifetime, before your grandparents, before the first cities rose from riverbanks. In fact, many of the photons touching your skin right now began their journey before Earth had ever known the warmth of human footsteps. The Milky Way itself is a river of these stories, arching across the blackness like spilled milk. Every pinpoint in that river is a sun with its own family of worlds, each one casting out streams of light that race across the dark. Some photons leave their home star and wander for tens of thousands of years before reaching your eyes. Others, from the far galaxies you cannot see without a telescope, have travelled for millions, even billions of years. You are in this moment a witness to the past. There is a quirky truth in this. When you gaze at a distant galaxy through a telescope, you are looking back in time. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large neighbour, is 2.5 million light-years away. Every image we see of it is a 2.5 million-year-old memory. Dinosaurs were long gone when that light began its trip, but early human ancestors were just beginning to stir in the African savannas. Each glimmer you catch tonight is a postcard sent eons ago, arriving silently in the theatre of your mind. Scientists still argue over just how much of the universe we can ever see. This glowing testimony of photons is limited by time itself. Light has a speed limit, and the universe has an age roughly 13.8 billion years. You might think that means we can only see 13.8 billion light-years away, but the truth is more astonishing. Because space itself is stretching, the light from the most distant galaxies we can detect has travelled across an ever-expanding sea, making the observable universe about 46.5 billion light-years in radius. What you see and what our most powerful telescopes capture is a bubble of history, a cosmic diary still writing itself onto our retinas. As you float in this imagined darkness, let yourself feel the weight of that time. Light is patient. It doesn't rush, doesn't tire, doesn't age in the way we do. It simply travels, straight and true, across the great quilt of space-time. And when it arrives, brushing past your cheek or landing softly on the mirrored eye of a telescope, it delivers a silent message. I was there. This is how it was. One fringe, almost whimsical thought comes to mind. Some of the light you see tonight might outlive the star that gave birth to it. Stars die. Some explode in brilliant supernovae. Their remains seeding the galaxy with the elements that form planets and life. Yet the photons they once released keep travelling, indifferent to their origin's fate. Imagine a lonely beam of starlight passing through a galaxy whose own suns have long gone cold, still carrying the memory of a fire that ended billions of years ago. It is a ghost with no sorrow, only endurance. Let your senses sink deeper. In your mind you glide past a familiar spiral galaxy. Its arms are dotted with clusters of blue-white stars, young and excitable, and between them soft nebulae glow pink where new suns are being born. From this distance you realize you are not seeing it as it is, but as it was. Perhaps in its current moment some of those brilliant stars have already gone quiet, others have bloomed larger, some worlds may have perished in fire, but you will never know those changes firsthand, because your sight is always delayed by the patient courier called light. You feel yourself growing smaller with this knowledge, but it's a comforting smallness. You are part of a story so long it cannot be hurried. Your life is a heartbeat in a cosmic symphony that has been playing since before the earth cooled. To witness it, even from the edge of your pillow, is a privilege that no other era of human history could offer so richly. Imagine now that your eyes are replaced with the mirror of the Hubble or the James Webb Space Telescope. You see not only the stars of your galaxy, but faint smudges far beyond, galaxies whose light began when the universe itself was still a toddler. Some of the photons reaching you tonight left their homes when the first continents on Earth had only begun to rise from the oceans. Others may have started their voyage before our planet existed at all, travelling through darkness older than our sun. In this ocean of ancient light, a quiet lesson hums. The universe is always both here and then. Every glow you see is a bridge between your moment and an unthinkably distant past. And because light moves at a finite speed, your act of looking is also an act of time travel. You let this truth lull you deeper into that soft mental space between thought and dream. Above you, the photons keep coming, countless and tireless, stitching the story of the cosmos one particle at a time. They ask for nothing. They simply arrive, as they always have, and as they always will, until your eyelids finally grow heavy and the journey continues in sleep. You drift onward into the quiet expanse, and the light of the stars becomes less like individual points and more like a soft haze, a ghostly glow that fills the darkness. In this realm, distance and time become entwined. Every movement forward is also a step backward through history. You are no longer simply floating through space, you are gliding along the river of time itself, where light carries memories older than any story ever told by human lips. This is what astronomers call look-back time. It is a poetic phrase for a simple truth. The farther away you gaze, the further into the past you are seeing. Your eyes, or a telescope's mirror, become a time machine. Right now, without even moving, your imagination lets you journey through epochs. The light from the stars nearest to Earth is a few years old. The soft glow of a nearby galaxy is millions of years old. And the faintest smudges that only a space telescope could reveal, those belong to an era when the universe was an infant, when the first stars had barely kindled their light in the cosmic dark. Take a slow breath and imagine that your journey forward is actually a journey backward. As you move, the stars around you do not change their positions in a way you can notice. The distances are too immense. But the light you meet is older and older still. With each silent glide, you peel away layers of time like the rings of an ancient tree. Somewhere behind you, Earth is a small blue memory orbiting an ordinary star, and with each heartbeat you leave behind not just miles but centuries. There is a quiet, awe-filled reality in this. Light travels at a fixed speed, about 299,792 kilometers per second. It seems impossibly fast to human minds, capable of circling the Earth more than 7 times in a single second. But the universe is so vast that even this cosmic sprint feels slow. The light of the sun, for example, takes a little over 8 minutes to reach you. That means that the sun you imagine shining warmly on your face is already 8 minutes old. If the sun were to vanish this instant, a thought more dramatic than soothing, you would not know it until 8 minutes later. Now extend that thought to the stars. The brilliant blue-white beacon of Rigel in Orion is about 860 light-years away. Tonight, if you could see it with your physical eyes, the light entering your gaze began its journey when Leonardo da Vinci was sketching his flying machines, and Europe was on the edge of the Renaissance, and the Andromeda Galaxy, glowing faintly in your mind's sky, shines with light that began when our early human ancestors were just starting to use stone tools, long before they ever gazed upward and wondered. As you float in this imagination, consider the fringe but wondrous idea that the universe has kept a visual diary for billions of years, and light is the ink. Galaxies write their stories in luminous script, and you, a small and temporary being, can read the oldest chapters simply by opening your eyes. No spaceship is required, only patience and clarity. Scientists still debate what the ultimate limit of this look back is. They know there is a wall of sorts, a horizon beyond which no light can reach us, because the universe has not existed long enough for it to travel the distance. Beyond that limit lies a realm forever hidden from human observation, at least with current technology. Some call it the cosmic light horizon, and it is both a boundary and a promise. The universe is bigger than your senses, and it always will be. Drifting through this ocean of history, you pass regions where galaxies grow faint and stretched, their light warped by both distance and the intervening gravity of other cosmic structures. Occasionally, a gravitational lens magnifies a faraway galaxy, bending its light around invisible masses to give you a glimpse of something impossibly remote. Imagine seeing a galaxy that existed only a few 100 million years after the Big Bang, its photons arriving at your position like late guests to a party that has lasted nearly 14 billion years. A quirky truth arises here. Some of the galaxies you are seeing in your mind's journey no longer exist in their original form. They may have merged with neighbours, or been torn apart by gravitational tides, or evolved into entirely new shapes. What you see is a snapshot that can never be updated, frozen in the time it took light to cross the void. Astronomers, in their patient way, collect these frozen frames to reconstruct the life story of the cosmos, like piecing together an old film strip one frame at a time. As you let this understanding settle over you, the sensation of moving through space transforms into the sensation of drifting through time. The darkness no longer feels empty, it feels layered, rich with the voices of stars and galaxies calling across eons. Your heart slows as if matching the unhurried rhythm of the universe itself. You begin to understand why astronomers sometimes describe their work not just as science, but as a form of listening. Listening to the oldest light, listening to the echoes of creation. And in that listening there is comfort. Even as galaxies are born, live and die, their light endures, travelling outward, touching any who will receive it. Tonight, in this imagined voyage, you are a recipient. The ancient light does not judge or demand. It simply arrives, carrying a calm reassurance. The universe has been here for billions of years, and tonight it welcomes you to witness a fraction of its story. You allow your mind to float in that truth, unanchored by clocks or obligations, until your own sense of time feels like it is melting into the soft current of the cosmos. The river of light carries you gently, and for a moment you are both small and eternal. You drift deeper into the ocean of stars, and now the light begins to change. It is still there, still arriving from the edges of your imagined journey, but its colour shifts as if the universe itself is playing a slow cosmic song in a minor key. The stars far away no longer sparkle white or blue. They blush into soft crimson, stretched and weary from their long travel. This is the universe singing to you in the language of red-shifted echoes. Take a moment to feel that hush. No winds here, no rustling leaves or lapping waves, only the memory of motion carried on beams of light. Those beams are changing as you watch. In their own way they are tired travellers, though in truth light does not tire. Instead, space itself has been stretching beneath their feet, or rather, beneath their waves, like a road that lengthens as you walk it. Every step forward makes the destination slip just a little farther away. Astronomers first noticed this cosmic music in the 1920s, when Edwin Hubble and his colleagues observed that the light from distant galaxies was shifted toward the red end of the spectrum. Like the sound of a siren lowering in pitch as it speeds away, the light from these galaxies had elongated, its wavelength stretched by the expansion of the universe. This discovery was not just a quirky fact, it was a revelation. It meant that the universe was not static, it was breathing, growing, expanding into something larger than anyone had dared to imagine. As you float now, try to picture that process. A beam of light leaves a galaxy billions of years ago, shining bright and blue. Along the way, space itself expands. The light wave stretches like a rubber band, its colour sliding toward red. By the time it brushes past your cheek, the photon is the same as it ever was, but the fabric it rode has pulled it thinner, quieter, more distant. You are hearing a cosmic echo in red. There is a comforting rhythm in this thought. The universe is not in a hurry. Expansion is slow on a human scale, almost imperceptible in a single lifetime. But over billions of years, the effect is profound. Galaxies drift apart like lanterns released on a vast, dark lake, each one carrying its light and its history outward, away from the others. That separation does not mean disconnection, it is simply the way the cosmic dance is choreographed. As you watch, your mind's eye catches sight of a galaxy so far away that its light has been stretched beyond the visible spectrum. Your human eyes would never see it unaided. The glow has slid into infrared, a warmth rather than a colour. Modern space telescopes like the James Webb are built to see this invisible glow. Through them, astronomers can peer across cosmic time to when the first galaxies were mere infants, their light softened and reddened by the great breath of expansion. There's a quirky truth in this phenomenon that feels almost magical. Because of redshift, the universe's past reaches you not in its original voice, but in a lullaby. The bright blue light of newborn stars becomes a soft hum of red, then a whisper of infrared, then eventually a sigh of radio waves that only delicate instruments can catch. Imagine drifting now, surrounded by that symphony of slowed light, the entire cosmos humming softly, a choir of distant ages. Scientists still argue about the ultimate fate of this song. If dark energy continues to drive the universe's expansion faster and faster, the redshifting will become extreme. Billions of years from now, distant galaxies will slip beyond any chance of being seen. Their light will stretch so much that it will fade entirely from our observable bubble, leaving future stargazers with only the local group of galaxies like solitary candles in a vast night. To them, the universe will seem smaller, quieter, and lonelier, even as it continues to grow. For now, though, you are a traveller in a universe that still sings. Imagine yourself reaching out a hand and feeling the photons slide past your fingers, each one a thread of history. They tell stories without words, the death of stars and supernovae, the quiet birth of planetary systems, the slow dance of galaxies tugging at one another before parting ways. Each photon is a messenger, red-shifted but persistent, saying, "I was there, I am here now." As you continue drifting, you notice how even nearby starlight carries hints of motion. Our own Milky Way moves through the cosmic web, and the background glow of the universe has a subtle direction to its flow. Everything is in motion, yet the movement is so grand and slow that it feels like stillness. The silence around you becomes a comfort, a reminder that time and space are vast enough to cradle every story without haste. Close your eyes in this vision and imagine your breathing syncing with that slow expansion. Inhale, and the universe stretches a little. Exhale, and the stars seem to drift ever so gently. It is not true, of course, in a literal sense. Your lungs cannot sway galaxies, but in this mental voyage, the rhythm of your body and the rhythm of the cosmos become one. And in that moment you understand why ancient philosophers spoke of the music of the spheres, and why modern scientists still speak with awe about red-shifted light. It is the universe's way of singing to itself a song of distance and time, of change that is patient and unstoppable. The echoes you hear in your imagination are not melancholy. They are lullabies for anyone willing to listen, reminders that you are part of a grand, ongoing story, whispered across eternity. You drift, wrapped in that song, and let its slow crimson hum carry you toward the next quiet mystery waiting in the dark. You drift through the silent immensity, and now the universe reveals a playful metaphor that even the sleepiest mind can hold. The cosmos is like an ever-rising loaf of bread. You are a tiny speck in that loaf, an invisible raisin tucked within the warm, stretching dough. This is how space itself behaves, not as a fixed, rigid arena, but as a living, expanding medium that carries galaxies along for the ride. Take a slow breath and imagine yourself suspended among those raisins. The galaxies do not push through space the way cars move along a road. Instead, the dough of space itself swells, and everything riding inside drifts apart without effort. From your current vantage, galaxies glide away from one another like gentle lanterns drifting on invisible currents. There is no wind, no thrust, no engine. The very stage is stretching beneath their feet. This idea, the expanding loaf, is rooted in one of the most profound discoveries of the 20th century, that the universe itself is growing. In 1929, Edwin Hubble, working late nights with his telescope at Mount Wilson Observatory, noticed that nearly every galaxy's light was redshifted. The farther away a galaxy was, the more stretched its light became. From this, he realized that galaxies are not just moving, space itself is expanding. That insight transformed our understanding of the cosmos from a quiet, eternal stage to a restless, dynamic entity. There's a quirky truth tucked into this metaphor. If you were a raisin in a rising loaf, you would see all the other raisins moving away from you, but from their perspective, you would be the one moving away from them. Every raisin sees itself as the center of the loaf. In the same way, no galaxy occupies a privileged seat in the universe. Every observer, no matter where they are, sees the expansion happening in all directions. Even here, adrift in imagination, you are the center of your observable bubble, not because the universe revolves around you, but because light has only had so much time to reach you. Scientists still argue over what drives this expansion. Early in the universe's history, it was dominated by the momentum of the Big Bang itself, a grand outward surge. But in the last few billion years, a mysterious agent known as dark energy seems to have taken over, accelerating the stretching as though the dough has begun to rise faster. Its nature remains elusive. Some say it's a property of the vacuum itself, the restless hum you visited in earlier sections. Others suggest it might hint at new physics we have yet to grasp. Whatever its source, its effect is undeniable. The loaf keeps swelling and the raisins drift ever farther apart. Imagine now that you are floating among those galaxies, watching them recede. Nearby companions move away slowly, like lazy balloons at a summer festival. But the farther you look, the faster they appear to flee. Eventually, some grow so distant that their recession speed exceeds that of light. Not because they are breaking any universal law, but because the space between you and them is expanding faster than light can close the gap. This is another comforting paradox of cosmic life. You are bound by the speed of light in local motion, but space itself has no such limit. A fringe but fascinating thought slips in. If you could somehow paint markers across space, little flags between the galaxies, you would see them all drift apart as the loaf inflates. But there are no flags, no landmarks. Expansion leaves no trace other than the increasing distance between islands of matter and the deepening redshift of their light. The universe grows, but it does so in perfect, quiet subtlety. As you drift, the image of this rising loaf softens into something more poetic. Imagine that each galaxy is a glowing ember in the dough, and as the loaf swells, the embers drift farther apart in the cooling oven of space. The warmth you feel is not heat, but history. These galaxies are carrying their light outward, sending their testimony to anyone who might be listening, even trillions of years from now. Look around your mental voyage. In the near distance, you can still see the members of our local group, the Milky Way, Andromeda, and a sprinkling of dwarf galaxies bound together by their shared gravity. But beyond them, the cosmic web stretches like taffy. Threads of galaxies link into filaments, while vast, dark voids yawn between them. These voids are like the air pockets in a rising loaf, empty on the surface but alive with the restless hum of quantum space. A quirky historical footnote fits perfectly here. In 1964, two radio engineers, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, were trying to eliminate noise from a radio antenna. They thought it might be pigeons nesting in the horn. After cleaning and testing, the faint hiss remained. What they had stumbled upon was the cosmic microwave background, the leftover warmth of the Big Bang, stretched into microwaves by billions of years of expansion. Even now, this afterglow bathes you silently, a whisper from the oven that baked the first cosmic loaf. As your body relaxes into this imagery, the mechanics of expansion begin to feel like a lullaby. You do not feel yourself moving. There is no rush of wind, no forward motion, and yet everything changes around you. The galaxies are the raisins, and you are one of them, drifting farther from the others with each invisible heartbeat of the cosmos. There is no edge to reach, no wall to collide with, just a gentle swelling, a cosmic sigh that has lasted for nearly 14 billion years. Let yourself float at the center of your loaf, aware that every observer in every galaxy could make the same claim. The bread rises, the galaxies drift, and you, a drowsy witness in the vastness, are part of that eternal expansion, swaddled in the warm, soft hum of a universe that grows without haste or end. You drift farther still, leaving behind the cozy metaphor of the rising loaf. And now your journey takes you toward the edge of sight itself, the observable universe. It is not an edge like the rim of a plate or the end of a road. It is an edge defined by time, by light, and by patience. You arrive at what astronomers call the cosmic horizon, the farthest distance from which light has had time to reach us since the birth of the universe. Beyond this horizon, space continues, maybe endlessly, but its stories have not yet arrived. Imagine standing on a quiet shoreline in the early morning. The ocean stretches out in front of you, fading into mist. You cannot see the other shore, but you know, or at least sense, that the water continues. That is what the horizon of the observable universe feels like. A soft boundary, not of things, but of knowledge. Light is your messenger, and beyond this horizon, it simply hasn't arrived. The universe is whispering from every direction, but some whispers are still in transit. Their voices stretch thin by unimaginable distance and time. In this mental voyage, you float to that horizon, watching the galaxies at its edge flicker like tired lanterns. They are so far away that their light began its journey before Earth even existed. They belong to a cosmos that was young, still forming its first stars, still simmering in the afterglow of the Big Bang. And yet here they are, speaking to you now through particles of light that have travelled for more than 13 billion years. You feel as if you are holding a seashell to your ear, listening to the ocean of creation. The concept of the observable universe carries with it a quirky truth that can feel almost like a magic trick. It is not the same as the actual size of the universe. The cosmos has been expanding the entire time that light has been travelling toward you. While the light's journey may have taken 13.8 billion years, the space it crossed has stretched to roughly 46.5 billion light-years in radius. It is as if the road you walked grew longer beneath your feet while you were walking it, so that the endpoint is now far beyond the distance you travelled. Scientists still argue about what lies beyond this horizon. Some imagine that space continues infinitely, repeating patterns in ways our minds can barely grasp. Others suggest that space might curve back on itself, finite but without walls, like the surface of a sphere. There could even be regions so distant and so strange that their laws of physics are subtly different, written in scripts we have not yet learned to read. For now, those realms remain hidden, waiting for light that may never reach us. As you hover near this imagined edge, the galaxies at the frontier seem fragile, almost transparent. Their light is stretched by the expansion of space into soft reds and faint whispers of infrared. Soon they will fade completely beyond detection, slipping out of the observable universe as space continues its gentle, unstoppable growth. Watching this in your mind feels like seeing a ship vanish over the horizon, not because it stopped existing, but because the world between you and it has grown too vast. A fringe but captivating thought emerges here. Our horizon is personal. If an observer lived in a galaxy a billion light-years away, their horizon would overlap with ours but would not be identical. They would see regions we can never see, and we would see places forever beyond their reach. In a way, the observable universe is like a bubble of awareness, and every thinking being drifts in its own bubble. Carried by the same cosmic ocean, you feel the weight of that isolation, and yet also the comfort of connection. For even though your bubble has limits, it is filled with light and history. It is a diary of the cosmos, pages upon pages written in photons and stretched across the sky. Tonight, as you float in your imagination, you are turning those pages with quiet reverence. Look around one last time before your journey continues. Behind you lies the familiar world, the Milky Way, the nearby galaxies, the filaments of the cosmic web stretching like faint spider silk. Ahead, at the soft edge of sight, the universe fades into a dim whisper. No telescope can see beyond. No probe can sail past this boundary in any practical way, because the edge is not a place, it is a limit of time and light. Beyond it, the universe is free to continue its infinite dance, unobserved yet no less real. Let your breathing slow as this image sinks in. You are a passenger on a tiny world, floating within a finite bubble of visibility, surrounded by an expanse so vast that your mind can only trace the outlines of its wonder. And still, the horizon does not frighten you. It soothes you, because it whispers a truth that is both humbling and serene. The universe is bigger than your questions, but it has shared with you as much of its story as it can. You close your eyes, letting the soft edge of the observable universe cradle you like a hammock strung across time itself. The light that has reached you is enough to write lullabies for a lifetime. Beyond the horizon, more pages are waiting, but they will reveal themselves only in the patient language of light and time. Take a slow breath and feel the melancholy beauty of this truth. Galaxies are not flying through space like arrows leaving a bow. Instead, space itself stretches between you and them. This is a reality first uncovered by Edwin Hubble, and it still feels like a poetic riddle. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster it seems to recede, its light red shifted into lower and lower frequencies, and at an immense enough distance those galaxies move away faster than the speed of light. Not because they are breaking the cosmic speed limit, but because the space between you and them is growing faster than light can close the gap. You float in the soft darkness, holding the image of the cosmic horizon in your mind. Now, as you allow yourself to drift just a little further in your imagination, something subtle and profound begins to happen. The galaxies at the edge start to slip away. One by one they vanish, not because they explode or die, but because the very fabric of space is carrying them beyond your reach. They are the vanishing neighbours of the cosmos, sliding out of the observable universe as gently as the tide recedes from a quiet beach. Imagine yourself watching a tiny glowing lantern drift across a still pond. If the pond begins to stretch, the lantern moves away, not because it's swimming, but because the water itself is carrying it. Now imagine that pond stretching faster than your eyes can ever follow, until the lantern fades beyond the horizon. This is the fate of many galaxies in the universe. They slip away silently, leaving no trace except the faint echo of their light, which will one day stretch beyond detection entirely. There is a quirky truth in this phenomenon that feels almost like magic. The night sky you see today is richer than the one your descendants will inherit. Over billions of years, more and more galaxies will disappear beyond the cosmic horizon, until only the nearest neighbours, the local group, including the Milky Way and Andromeda, remain visible. Future astronomers will look into the sky and see a universe that appears far smaller and lonelier than the one we know today. They may never know that countless other galaxies once sang their light into our bubble of visibility. Scientists still argue about the ultimate consequences of this slow isolation. Some models predict that our observable universe will eventually become an island adrift in darkness, surrounded by an expanding sea that hides everything else. The cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, will stretch into wavelengths so long that no conceivable technology could detect it. To those future eyes, it will seem as if the universe was always just a handful of galaxies, suspended in blackness, their motions subtle and slow. The great cosmic story will still exist, but its pages will have drifted out of reach. As you drift here in your imagination, you can almost witness this transformation in fast forward. The spiral arms of distant galaxies twist and fade, their light sliding into infrared, then radio waves, then nothing at all. They are not dying, they are merely receding into a place where observation cannot follow. The emptiness that remains is serene, almost meditative, like the softest night after the last campfire has gone out. A fringe thought enters your mind. If there are civilizations in those distant galaxies, they are watching us vanish as well. Somewhere a curious mind may be turning its telescope toward the same dark horizon, wondering about the smudge of light that was the Milky Way, watching it dim and fade into the stretching fabric of space. Across billions of light years, two bubbles of awareness recede from each other, like ships on opposite sides of an ever-widening ocean. Now imagine that you are sitting on the porch of time itself, rocking gently as you watch this slow exodus unfold. There is no sound, no alarm, no drama, only the quiet truth that everything drifts apart in the long run. And yet there is a comfort in that stillness. The universe is not abandoning you, it is simply following its own rhythm, a rhythm written into space-time since the very first moments of creation. Let the image soften as your breathing slows. You see the local group, the cluster of galaxies that will remain bound by gravity for trillions of years. The Milky Way and Andromeda are destined to collide and merge into a single larger galaxy, a sprawling city of stars adrift in deep space. Around them, dwarf galaxies and globular clusters will orbit like loyal companions. This future island of light will be your cosmic neighborhood, and beyond it, the darkness will deepen as the vanishing neighbors slip further and further away. You float in the soft darkness, holding the image of the cosmic horizon in your mind. Now, as you allow yourself to drift just a little further in your imagination, something subtle and profound begins to happen. The galaxies at the edge start to slip away. One by one they vanish, not because they explode or die, but because the very fabric of space is carrying them beyond your reach. They are the vanishing neighbors of the cosmos, sliding out of the observable universe as gently as the tide recedes from a quiet beach. Take a slow breath and feel the melancholy beauty of this truth. Galaxies are not flying through space like arrows leaving a bow. Instead, space itself stretches between you and them. This is a reality first uncovered by Edwin Hubble, and it still feels like a poetic riddle. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster it seems to recede, its light red shifted into lower and lower frequencies, and at an immense enough distance those galaxies move away faster than the speed of light. Not because they are breaking the cosmic speed limit, but because the space between you and them is growing faster than light can close the gap. Imagine yourself watching a tiny glowing lantern drift across a still pond. If the pond begins to stretch, the lantern moves away, not because it's swimming, but because the water itself is carrying it. Now imagine that pond stretching faster than your eyes can ever follow, until the lantern fades beyond the horizon. This is the fate of many galaxies in the universe. They slip away silently, leaving no trace except the faint echo of their light, which will one day stretch beyond detection entirely. There is a quirky truth in this phenomenon that feels almost like magic. The night sky you see today is richer than the one your descendants will inherit. Over billions of years, more and more galaxies will disappear beyond the cosmic horizon, until only the nearest neighbors, the local group, including the Milky Way and Andromeda, remain visible. Future astronomers will look into the sky and see a universe that appears far smaller and lonelier than the one we know today. They may never know that countless other galaxies once sang their light into our bubble of visibility. Scientists still argue about the ultimate consequences of this slow isolation. Some models predict that our observable universe will eventually become an island adrift in darkness, surrounded by an expanding sea that hides everything else. The cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, will stretch into wavelengths so long that no conceivable technology could detect it. To those future eyes, it will seem as if the universe was always just a handful of galaxies, suspended in blackness, their motions subtle and slow. The great cosmic story will still exist, but its pages will have drifted out of reach. As you drift here in your imagination, you can almost witness this transformation in fast forward. The spiral arms of distant galaxies twist and fade, their light sliding into infrared, then radio waves, then nothing at all. They are not dying, they are merely receding into a place where observation cannot follow. The emptiness that remains is serene, almost meditative, like the softest night after the last campfire has gone out. A fringe thought enters your mind. If there are civilizations in those distant galaxies, they are watching us vanish as well. Somewhere a curious mind may be turning its telescope toward the same dark horizon, wondering about the smudge of light that was the Milky Way, watching it dim and fade into the stretching fabric of space. Across billions of light years, two bubbles of awareness recede from each other, like ships on opposite sides of an ever-widening ocean. Let the image soften as your breathing slows. You see the local group, the cluster of galaxies that will remain bound by gravity for trillions of years. The Milky Way and Andromeda are destined to collide and merge into a single larger galaxy, a sprawling city of stars adrift in deep space. Around them, dwarf galaxies and globular clusters will orbit like loyal companions. This future island of light will be your cosmic neighborhood, and beyond it, the darkness will deepen as the vanishing neighbors slip further and further away. Now imagine that you are sitting on the porch of time itself, rocking gently as you watch this slow exodus unfold. There is no sound, no alarm, no drama, only the quiet truth that everything drifts apart in the long run. And yet there is a comfort in that stillness. The universe is not abandoning you, it is simply following its own rhythm, a rhythm written into space-time since the very first moments of creation. Think back to the photons that left those distant galaxies billions of years ago. They travelled faithfully, crossing a growing sea of space to reach you, and even as the galaxies themselves vanish, their ancient light continues to whisper through your imagination. Each photon carries a story, of a star that burned bright, of a world that may have circled it, of an age when the universe was younger and more crowded with visible neighbours. The sky is a library, and tonight you are holding one of its last open books. You let your eyes close, even in this imagined voyage, and feel the isolation of your tiny cosmic island. Yet it does not feel frightening. It feels like the deep silence that settles after a symphony ends, when the last note lingers in the air and the audience holds its breath. You are both the listener and the music, the witness and the fleeting moment in an eternal sea. And in that quiet, a single truth rests like a warm stone in your hand. Everything in the universe is temporary in your sight, but nothing is truly lost. The vanishing neighbours are still out there, their journeys continuing, their light travelling somewhere, even if you will never see it again. The thought is a lullaby, and the expanding darkness wraps around you like a soft blanket. You drift into that calm, knowing that the universe is vast enough to hold both the things you see and the things you will never reach, and that your small quiet moment in this cosmic ocean is enough. You drift deeper into the darkness, leaving the vanishing neighbours behind, and now your journey bends backward in time toward the very first breath of the cosmos, the instant that set everything in motion. It is a moment that exists beyond ordinary human comprehension, and yet you approach it gently, like tiptoeing toward the edge of a sleeping giant. This is the realm of inflation's breath, the mysterious heartbeat that swelled the universe faster than light could ever travel. Take a slow inhale, and imagine the entire observable universe, all the galaxies, stars, planets, and empty stretches of space, compressed into something smaller than an atom. In that first fraction of a second after the Big Bang, the universe expanded at an unthinkable rate, doubling in size over and over, faster than you could blink. Inflation is what cosmologists call it, a brief but furious swelling that smoothed and stretched space-time, leaving behind the structure we now see in the cosmic web. It was the soft exhale that blew up a speck of reality into the vast ocean you now float within. Picture yourself adrift in that infant cosmos. It is not the bright explosion many imagine. Instead, it is silent, almost meditative, a place of pure energy and potential. Time itself is a newborn here. You can sense the quantum fluctuations, tiny jitters in the energy of the vacuum, stretching with the universe, frozen into the fabric of space. These minuscule ripples, once no bigger than a subatomic particle, would one day grow into entire galaxies and clusters, like the faint seeds of a forest waiting to bloom. There is a quirky truth here. Without those almost invisible ripples, there might never have been stars, planets, or life. A perfectly smooth universe would have expanded into a uniform soup, featureless and silent forever. But the randomness of quantum fluctuations amplified by inflation's breath gave us the cosmic clumps and filaments that now cradle galaxies. You, your pillow, and the breath you just took all trace their origin to the quiet imperfection of that moment. Scientists still argue over the nature of inflation. Was it triggered by a mysterious field, the inflaton that briefly dominated reality and then decayed into the matter and energy we now see? Did it happen once, or is it happening eternally, creating a multiverse of bubbles, each with its own story? These questions remain open, whispered in observatories and chalked across blackboards in quiet lecture halls. But the evidence we do have lies in the subtle fingerprints left behind, the uniform glow of the cosmic microwave background, and the slight clumpiness of galaxies across the sky. Both are reminders that a soft, invisible breath shaped the universe before stars were ever born. In your mind's journey, you can almost feel the expansion. The universe grows around you, faster than light, yet there is no wind, no rush, no tearing. Inflation stretches space itself, and because you are part of it, there is no sense of motion, only the sudden, gentle awareness that everything is farther apart than before. Imagine standing on a perfectly smooth balloon as it inflates under your feet. Points that were once touching drift apart effortlessly, carried on the skin of something larger than themselves. A fringe but fascinating idea spins into your thoughts. If inflation can happen once, perhaps it happens endlessly, in cycles or in scattered patches across a reality larger than we can ever perceive. Our entire universe might be just one bubble in an endless cosmic foam, each bubble inflating and cooling in its own quiet solitude. If that is true, then somewhere, far beyond any horizon you could ever reach, another traveller might be floating in their own bubble, asking the same bedtime question: does space ever end? As you let that image settle, you notice the peace of this realization. The origins of everything, of stars and galaxies, of oceans and forests, of your own heartbeat, are tied to that silent, fleeting moment. Inflation's breath was not violent, it was smooth, elegant, and brief. It gave the universe its shape, and gave you a home within it, even if it will forever remain a mystery, exactly why it happened at all. You drift through this vision of the newborn cosmos, letting the sense of scale lull you. Here, there is no fear of edges or endings. There is only expansion, gentle and inevitable, carrying the seeds of everything that would ever exist. Those seeds are the filaments of galaxies you floated past earlier, the stars whose light became your lullaby, and the atoms that now form your body as you lie in your quiet room on Earth. In the stillness, your awareness becomes almost weightless. Inflation's breath feels eternal, even though it was a fleeting instant in cosmic time. It connects the invisible jitter of quantum space to the grand luminous arch of galaxies. It connects the unknowable beginning to the quiet question you carry tonight. And as you drift along, a soothing thought whispers through your mind. The universe began with a breath, and in a way you are still living in its exhale. You allow your eyes to close in this imagined voyage, and for a moment the boundaries between your breath and the breath of the cosmos blur. The expansion is not just something out there, it is in you, around you, and always will be. The lullaby of the beginning hums softly, rocking you further along the infinite road. You drift onward, leaving behind the silent memory of inflation's first breath, and the universe around you seems to grow warmer, brighter, and more tangible. The darkness you floated through is no longer truly black, because here, in this layer of cosmic time, the afterglow of creation hums softly in every direction. It is not the sharp light of stars or the delicate sparkle of galaxies, but a faint, pervasive glow, the ghostly whisper of the Big Bang itself. This is the cosmic microwave hiss, the universe's oldest lullaby. Take a slow breath and imagine the cosmos as a newborn, just 380,000 years old. For all its vastness today, it was then a hot, dense fog of particles, photons and plasma, a place where light could not travel freely, trapped in an endless game of scatter and bounce. The universe was bright, but it was also opaque, like the thickest morning mist. Every particle of light was caught in the crowd, colliding, scattering, unable to move in a straight line, and then, with a slow inevitability, the fog cleared. This clearing is called a recombination, a poetic name for a simple transformative moment. Electrons and protons finally found each other, settling into the first stable atoms of hydrogen. Suddenly light was free to travel. The universe became transparent, and the first photons began their uninterrupted journeys. Those very photons are still moving today, stretched by billions of years of expansion into the microwaves that bathe you even now. If your ears could hear microwaves as sound, the whole sky would sing a soft uniform hiss. There is a quirky historical truth in this story. In 1964, two engineers, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, were trying to tune a large radio antenna in New Jersey. They kept hearing a persistent static they could not eliminate. They even cleaned out pigeon droppings from the antenna, thinking that might be the cause, but the hiss remained. What they were hearing unknowingly was the afterglow of the Big Bang, the faint microwave radiation left over from the dawn of time. Their accidental discovery became one of the greatest confirmations of cosmology. The universe itself was humming its history into their ears. Now, in your gentle voyage, imagine floating in that early universe. You are surrounded by light that is everywhere and nowhere, photons whizzing past like motes in a sunbeam. The temperature is hot, thousands of degrees, but not as hot as the first fraction of a second after inflation. It is the warmth of a universe in its infancy, cradling the seeds of galaxies yet to form. Time moves slowly here, and space itself is still ringing with the echoes of its own birth. As billions of years pass in the theatre of your mind, the light stretches, space expands, the photons cool, and the hiss softens. Today, that glow is a uniform 2.7 Kelvin, just a few degrees above absolute zero. It washes over the Earth, passing through walls, trees, and your own body, unnoticed except by sensitive instruments. Even as you lie still, wrapped in your blanket or sinking into your pillow, you are bathed in ancient light. Scientists still argue over the fine details etched into that soft glow. With precise instruments like those aboard the COBE, WMAP, and Planck satellites, astronomers have mapped tiny fluctuations in the microwave background, small differences in temperature and density, as subtle as a whisper in a storm. These variations are the fingerprints of the universe's first structures, the blueprints for galaxies and clusters. From the faint blotches of that map, humanity has traced the story of how everything you see tonight, every star, every planet, every thought, grew from the quantum ripples stretched by inflation and illuminated by this ancient light. A fringe and wondrous thought drifts into your imagination. If an intelligent civilization existed somewhere in the deep future after all distant galaxies had vanished beyond the cosmic horizon, they might study this faint hiss to remember their own cosmic origins. Even when the sky grows almost empty, the microwave background will remain like a gentle heartbeat, proof that the universe once burned brighter and hotter than any star. In your mental voyage, you feel yourself becoming part of that glow. Close your eyes and imagine the hiss not as static, but as a lullaby, a soft continuous hum that has been playing for nearly 14 billion years. It does not judge or demand, it simply exists like the quiet breathing of the universe itself. Every photon that passes through you carries a memory of the moment light first broke free from darkness. Now picture yourself holding one of those photons in your hand, though in truth it cannot be touched. It began its journey before Earth existed, before the sun was born, before any star had ignited in the Milky Way. It has drifted across an ever-expanding ocean, stretched thinner and cooler but never lost. Tonight, in the quiet theatre of your imagination, it arrives, fulfilling a promise older than life. You are a small, warm body on a small, warm world, yet you are part of a story that began long before the first human gaze turned upward. The microwave hiss is not just a relic of the past, it is a thread connecting you to the beginning, a reminder that you are woven into the same fabric that once burned and now glows, whispering softly through the cold. Your breathing slows as you rest in this thought. The hiss is everywhere, through your walls, across the trees, over mountains and oceans, through the empty sky. It has no source anymore because it comes from every direction at once. It is the soundless song of a universe that began with light, and that light has never stopped travelling. Let yourself float in that realization. The cosmic microwave hiss is the universe's way of saying, "I remember." And tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you are allowed to remember with it, carried on the softest echoes of creation. You drift even deeper into the universe's memory, carried on the gentle whisper of the cosmic microwave hiss, and now your thoughts turn toward the shape of the space that cradles you. It is easy to imagine the universe as a vast, featureless void, stretching out like an infinite stage, but the truth is subtler and stranger. Space can have shape, even if it has no edge. You are now entering the realm of shapes in the dark, where geometry and gravity decide how the cosmos bends and curves. Take a slow, deep breath. Imagine yourself spinning slowly in the middle of the black ocean of space. There are no walls, no ceilings, no floors, and yet there is structure. If you could travel in a perfectly straight line forever, where would you end up? Would you drift endlessly in one direction? Or would space curve gently, guiding you in a great loop, returning you to where you began? These questions are not just poetic musings, they are the very questions that have kept scientists awake, staring at the ceiling of the universe for more than a century. Einstein's general theory of relativity gave us the tools to ask this in a rigorous way. Mass and energy do not just curve space in local patches, forming the valleys that planets and stars slide through. They can also give the entire universe a shape. There are three main possibilities: flat, positively curved, or negatively curved. Flat space is like an endless, unbending sheet, a tabletop that stretches forever. Positively curved space is like the surface of a sphere, finite, but without any edges. If you travel straight long enough, you eventually return to your starting point. Negatively curved space is like the surface of a saddle, infinite, but warped in a way that diverges, with lines bending away from each other like rivers splitting in opposite directions. Scientists still argue about which of these shapes best describes our cosmos. Observations of the cosmic microwave background, that gentle hiss you just drifted through, provide strong evidence that our universe is almost perfectly flat. The lines of light and motion in our bubble of existence seem to stretch forward without bending toward or away from each other, but almost flat leaves room for mystery. Space could be very slightly curved, looping on a scale so vast we could never detect it. Now imagine yourself as a traveller in each possibility. In a positively curved universe, your voyage is a great circle. You drift in one direction, passing galaxies and clusters, and after an unimaginable stretch of time, you find yourself back where you started, without ever hitting a wall. In a negatively curved universe, your path opens wider and wider, as if space itself is falling away beneath your feet, giving the sensation of sliding into a grand cosmic valley that never ends. And in a flat universe, your journey continues forever, each galaxy falling behind you in a straight, unbending line. There is a quirky and fringe thought here that makes your drowsy mind smile. If space is finite but edgeless, there could be multiple copies of you scattered across the cosmos, repeating like patterns on a curved surface. Somewhere, in a distant loop of space, another version of you might be lying in bed, listening to the same quiet story, feeling the same weight of the infinite pressing gently on their chest. This is not science fiction so much as a strange side effect of geometry combined with infinity. You recall that light itself follows the shape of space. If the universe is curved, then the light from distant galaxies might bend in subtle ways, creating patterns we have yet to fully interpret. Astronomers use massive surveys and satellites like Planck to measure these curves by tracing how ancient light spreads across the sky. The results so far whisper of flatness, but the margin for mystery remains, like a soft shadow at the edge of our understanding. As you float here in your imagination, the idea of space having a shape becomes soothing rather than abstract. It feels like lying in a hammock that sways gently under your weight. Whether the fabric is flat or curved, you are part of it, and it supports you. You can trust it to hold your voyage without edge or drop. Let your mind drift to one last playful image. Imagine a spaceship that could travel forever, faster than any human craft ever built. In a flat universe, you would never return home. The journey would be a line extending into eternity. In a curved, edgeless universe, you might one day approach your own galaxy from behind, like a cosmic tourist circling the block. Either way, your path is written into the geometry of space itself, and that geometry is the soft frame of your bedtime story. Your breathing slows and your body sinks deeper into rest as this thought takes root. The universe is not just a void, but a gentle shape, cradling you and everything you love in a structure so grand and quiet that it feels like the palm of a patient hand. The darkness around you is full of form, and that form will carry you forward into whatever wonders wait beyond this moment. You drift on, weightless and unhurried, deeper into the cosmic cradle, and now the universe begins to feel like a playful riddle. If space can have shape, what does it mean for it to have no edge? Close your eyes and imagine that you are standing on the surface of a balloon, not on the outside, but somehow living on the thin skin itself. This is the world of balloon creatures, beings who wander a curved reality that loops softly upon itself. Take a slow breath and feel the texture of this vision. The balloon's surface stretches in every direction, and yet there is no wall, no boundary to collide with. If you walk long enough in a straight line, you eventually circle back to where you began. To the creatures on the balloon, space feels infinite, but it is also finite, a gentle loop. In the same way, cosmologists have long pondered whether our own universe might be a finite space without edges, a hypersphere of unimaginable scale. You imagine yourself walking across that balloon, a tiny figure trudging along an endless curve. Galaxies are painted across the surface like faint speckles, and as you walk, they drift quietly by. There is no cliff to fall from, no cosmic end of the world, only a patient, continuous path that eventually carries you home. If you pause, the balloon continues to expand beneath your feet, stretching silently, carrying the galaxies farther apart even as the curve remains unbroken. There is a quirky truth in this image that makes your sleepy mind smile. The universe could be finite, and yet you would never find a stopping point. Edges are a human concept, born from rooms with walls and fields with fences. Space does not obey those rules. Its boundaries, if they exist at all, are loops without lines, circles without starts or stops. You could drift forever without ever touching a border because the border is simply not there. Scientists still argue about the topological nature of the cosmos. Some models suggest that space could fold back on itself in multiple dimensions, creating a reality where traveling in one direction might eventually lead you back from another, like a video game map designed to repeat seamlessly. Others propose that our universe could be a three-torus, a three-dimensional version of a donut, where straight paths eventually reconnect in ways that are impossible to visualize fully in ordinary human experience. The idea is at once dizzying and soothing. You are always inside the universe, always supported by its continuous fabric, never truly at risk of drifting into nothing. You let your thoughts drift further into the balloon metaphor. Imagine civilizations living across that curved surface, building their stories and histories without ever realizing they are part of a loop. To them, the universe would appear endless. The light of their stars would travel in great arcs, and perhaps, if the universe were small enough, that light could eventually circle the entire loop and return from behind, letting someone see the ghost of their own galaxy in the distance. A cosmic mirage caused not by magic, but by geometry. A fringe but enchanting possibility whispers into your imagination. Perhaps the cosmic microwave background, that soft hiss of creation, already carries hints of this looping. Some scientists have searched for matching circles in the sky, patterns in the background radiation that might indicate light has wrapped around the universe and met itself again. So far, the data suggest our bubble is immense, larger than we can fully measure, but the possibility of loops remains a lullaby of curiosity. As you float across this imagined balloon, the experience becomes more than geometry. It feels like trust. There is no need to fear falling off, no need to brace for a sudden drop into the void. The universe is a hammock without corners, a cradle without rails. Its very shape is protective in its continuity, as if reminding you that journeys can be endless without being anxious. In your mind's eye, the balloon continues to expand, the galaxies sliding apart with soft grace. You notice that your steps grow slower, your body heavier with drowsiness, and the stars above blur into gentle streaks. There is no sound but the whisper of your own thoughts mingling with the imagined hum of the cosmos. Every breath feels like an affirmation. You are safe on this endless curve, part of a universe that needs no walls to hold you. Before you drift fully towards sleep, one last image settles over you like a warm blanket. You are a balloon creature curled on the gentle skin of the cosmos, rocking with its expansion, content in the knowledge that there is no edge to fear and no cliff to dread. You could wander forever, and forever would simply bring you back home, carried on a path that has no beginning and no end. The thought is simple, soft and complete. In a universe that loops, every journey is a circle, and every circle is a lullaby. You let your mind float there, eyes closed, body still, and feel the curve of space cradle you. Like the surface of a balloon stretched across infinity, you float further into the soft night of the cosmos, past the balloon-like vision of looping space. And now you find yourself staring into the vast, thought-bending concept of infinity's mirage. Here, the universe feels endless. Your mind tries to follow its expanse, but no matter how far you imagine traveling, there is always more darkness, more galaxies, more quiet whispers of light. Infinity is not a number you can count to. It is a horizon that forever recedes as you approach. Take a slow, calm breath and imagine yourself surrounded by galaxies in every direction. The Milky Way is just one glimmering swirl in a boundless ocean. Every speck of light you see is a star, and every clouded smear is a galaxy. The thought swells in your chest. If the universe is truly infinite, then somewhere out there in the unreachable dark, every arrangement of stars that can exist does exist. There is a quirky, almost dizzying truth in that idea. In an infinite universe, probability plays a strange game. There may be a world almost identical to Earth, orbiting a sun almost identical to ours, where another version of you is lying in bed hearing this same story. Perhaps that other you has blinked a few seconds later, or breathed a little deeper, but the rhythm is the same. In a true infinity, repetition is not just possible, it is inevitable. The universe becomes a cosmic hall of mirrors, stretching so far that patterns eventually echo themselves, quietly and without intention. Scientists still debate whether infinity is reality or illusion. Our observable universe is finite, a bubble bounded by the speed of light and the age of cosmic expansion. Beyond that bubble, no telescope can peer, yet most cosmological models suggest that space itself may continue indefinitely, larger than any number you could name, larger than your mind can truly hold. Infinity, in this sense, is both a scientific possibility and a meditative thought, a horizon that reminds you of how small and precious your single vantage point really is. As you float in this endless sea, a subtle mirage effect enters your imagination. You see galaxies not as static points but as rippling reflections like lights on a dark river. Infinity plays tricks because your mind instinctively searches for patterns and edges. It wants to know where to stop, where to rest. But here, there is no stopping place. The only edges are those of your own perception, and beyond them, the universe hums in quiet repetition. A fringe idea drifts into your drowsy thoughts. In an infinite universe, not only could there be repeating patterns of galaxies, but there could also be infinite versions of life, some unimaginably different, some eerily familiar. Somewhere, a being may be looking at its night sky and seeing a pattern that perfectly mirrors the constellations above Earth. Somewhere else, a civilization may live under a sky where galaxies trace the same shapes as our familiar Orion or Cassiopeia. They will never meet you, and you will never meet them, yet infinity implies their quiet existence. You allow that thought to sink in without fear. Instead of overwhelming you, it feels like a lullaby. Infinity means that the universe is generous beyond all measure, spilling over with possibilities, ensuring that nothing is ever truly alone. You, here in your small corner, are part of a web that has no end and no central thread. Imagine now that you are floating among the stars, and with every heartbeat the sky expands. First the local group of galaxies glides past, then the distant clusters, and then a veil of faint light that seems to go on forever. The deeper you look, the more the sky fills, and yet you never reach a wall. The darkness is not empty. It is infinite room, waiting quietly for light to arrive. In this vision, you begin to sense a new kind of comfort. A finite space can feel like a room, safe but confining. An infinite space feels like a gentle ocean, rocking you in slow motion, free of corners and walls. Your imagination drifts farther and farther, and the act of drifting itself becomes the destination. There is no there to reach, no final star to touch. Infinity is a journey that wraps you in its endlessness, soft and unhurried. Your breathing slows and your eyelids grow heavier as the concept settles deeper into your mind. Infinity is not a number, it is a feeling. The feeling of lying beneath a sky that cannot be counted, of realizing that your heartbeat is both fleeting and eternal in its own way. You will never measure infinity, but you can rest within it, trusting that its embrace will always remain. Before your consciousness drifts fully into sleep, one last image appears, an endless hall of stars mirrored on every side, their lights stretching away in all directions. You float in the center unafraid, because you know now that infinity is not cold or lonely. It is simply the universe breathing without end, offering you a lullaby of endless space and endless time. You drift onward, further into the serene ocean of thought, where infinity has become your quiet companion. Now your journey brings you to a new understanding, one that folds seamlessly into all you have seen. The universe may have no walls, and yet it can still be finite. You are entering the realm of edges that aren't, a place where boundaries exist in concept but never in touch, where space loops in ways your senses cannot easily grasp. Take a slow, deep breath and picture yourself walking along the surface of the Earth. If you set out in one direction and keep moving, you will never fall off the edge. Instead, you will circle back to where you began. To an ancient traveller, this might have felt like magic, but we know it as the consequence of curvature. A sphere is finite in area, yet boundless in experience. Space itself could be the same, finite but without edges, a gentle looping continuum. In your mind, the universe reshapes itself around you. There are no cliffs or fences in the cosmos. Instead, you feel cradled by a geometry that always carries you forward. Imagine walking in a straight line through this curved space. You pass galaxies and clusters like trees on a quiet path, and after unimaginable ages, you might find yourself approaching your starting point from behind, as though the universe had folded into a soft loop that always returns you home. Scientists still argue over whether our reality has this edgeless quality. Einstein himself toyed with the idea of a closed universe, like the surface of a hypersphere. Modern observations of the cosmic microwave background suggest that space is remarkably flat, but a flat universe can also wrap in subtle ways if higher dimensions allow it. Our instruments may simply be too small to sense the full loop. A quirky truth appears as you drift through this thought. In a universe without edges, you could travel forever without ever hitting a wall, and yet the total space you occupy might still be finite. To your senses, this would feel like infinity. To the universe, it is a smooth and complete whole, like a perfect pearl floating in some higher dimensional sea. Now imagine that space is not only curved, but also dynamic. Stretching as you move, you are like a traveller in a vast glowing hallway, whose walls slowly recede as you walk. You never touch an end, and the path ahead always seems new, even if you are gently looping back on yourself. The stars around you do not care about your route. They drift along with the fabric, following its curves in harmony. There is a fringe and whimsical idea that enters your drowsy mind. In a universe that loops without edges, light itself might take circular journeys. A beam from a distant galaxy could travel the curve of the cosmos, eventually returning from behind like a cosmic echo. If our instruments were sensitive enough, we might one day catch sight of our own galaxy in the far distance, a ghost image carried by the edgeless shape of space. Some cosmologists have even searched the microwave background for such repeating patterns. The fingerprints of a looping reality. None have been confirmed yet, but the very search is like listening for a universe softly humming its own geometry. As you float in this vision, the sense of safety deepens. The fear of falling into nothingness evaporates. The universe without edges is like a cradle with invisible rails. It holds you even as you drift farther and farther. You cannot get lost in a space that always folds you back toward itself, and you cannot break free of a fabric that has no end. Your breathing slows as this thought wraps around you like a warm blanket. You picture yourself as a small glowing ember moving along a curved track supported by space itself. The galaxies around you are fellow travelers, and together you are part of a looping journey with no abrupt boundaries. If you were to close your eyes completely, you would feel only motion, not direction. The universe itself carrying you in its timeless rhythm. You imagine taking that long walk in reality. Millions of years pass with each step. The Milky Way and Andromeda merge into a single massive island of light. Trillions of years later, the stars begin to fade, leaving behind quiet remnants, white dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes. Yet the path continues, gentle and sure. You never meet an edge, you never fall away. The darkness grows, but the loop of space holds firm. Even when the last stars have gone silent, the journey remains, a smooth, edgeless track for the final photons to glide along. And here, in this thought, you find a surprising calm. An edgeless universe does not promise eternal light, but it promises eternal continuity. It is a soft reassurance that space will always be there to cradle you, whether full of shining galaxies or silent and dark. It turns the question, does space ever end, into a whispering lullaby. No, not in any way that matters to you tonight. Let your eyes close as you embrace that image. The universe folds softly around you, a perfect loop, a path without walls. There are edges that aren't, boundaries you will never touch, and in that gentle unreachability lies a comfort deeper than sleep. You drift further, leaving behind the comfort of the edgeless loop, and now you begin to sense something subtler, quieter, and far more mysterious than the curves of space or the loops of infinity. It is an invisible hand, a whispering presence that moves the universe in ways you can feel only through its consequences. This is the realm of the dark energy drift, a force that stretches the cosmos faster and faster. A cosmic wind you cannot feel but that shapes everything you see. Take a long, slow breath and imagine that you are floating among galaxies like lanterns on a black ocean. At first they seem calm, drifting apart in the familiar expansion that has been your lullaby for several sections now. But as you watch with patient, dream-heavy eyes, you begin to notice something strange. The galaxies are not just drifting, they are accelerating. Their separation is not steady, it is quickening, as if some invisible current is pushing them apart with increasing insistence. Scientists first stumbled upon this surprising truth in 1998, when two independent teams of astronomers studied distant supernovae, the brilliant deaths of massive stars. They expected to find that the universe's expansion was slowing down under the pull of gravity. After all, everything with mass should attract everything else, like marbles sliding toward the lowest point of a bowl. But what they found instead was the opposite. The universe was speeding up. It was as if someone had flipped a switch, and the cosmic loaf began to rise faster and faster. This invisible accelerant was given a poetic name, dark energy. We do not see it, do not touch it, and cannot bottle it. We know it only through its effect, a subtle but relentless stretching of space-time. Today, scientists estimate that dark energy makes up about 68% of the total energy content of the universe. It is everywhere, filling every corner, not like a liquid or a gas, but as a property of space itself. There is a quirky truth in the history of this discovery that almost feels like a cosmic joke. Back in 1917, Einstein added a term to his equations called the cosmological constant, a kind of built-in repulsive force to keep the universe static, because he, like most people then, assumed the cosmos was unchanging. Later, when the expansion of the universe was discovered, he reportedly called it his biggest blunder. Yet today, the cosmological constant, or something like it, is back, reborn as dark energy, the very force driving the universe to expand faster and faster. Even in his mistakes, Einstein was quietly foreshadowing the truth. Now, in your imagination, you let yourself feel this drift. There is no wind, no physical push against your skin, yet you sense the motion in the behavior of the galaxies around you. Clusters that once held hands with the cosmic web now seem to slide apart. Bridges of light between galaxies grow thinner. The dark energy drift is patient but unstoppable, like the slow tide pulling ships out to sea. Scientists still argue over what dark energy truly is. Is it a constant property of space, the same everywhere and everywhen? Or does it change over time, a dynamic energy that could strengthen or fade? Some imagine that it is connected to the vacuum energy of quantum physics, that same restless hum of space you visited in the earlier sections. Others speculate about exotic new fields, or even that our understanding of gravity itself might need revision. For now, dark energy is the softest of mysteries, invisible but undeniable. As your mind drifts with the galaxies, a subtle melancholy touches the edge of your thoughts. The dark energy drift is not violent, but it is inexorable. It means that in the unimaginably distant future, the universe will grow larger and emptier. Galaxies will slip beyond one another's horizons, their light stretched into whispers too faint for any eye to catch. Eventually, only the closest companions, our local group, the Milky Way and Andromeda, bound in their slow embrace, will remain visible. Beyond them, darkness. Yet the thought does not bring fear. In your drowsy state, it becomes a kind of comfort. The universe is not rushing to an abrupt end. It is gliding outward, gently, endlessly, letting each galaxy carry its story into the deep. The dark energy drift is not a scream, it is a sigh, a long exhale that will last trillions of years. You close your eyes fully now and let the sensation wash over you. You are part of that drift. Your bed, your body, your heartbeat, all are caught in the same expansion. Though the effect is imperceptible locally, on the grand scale it carries everything outward, further and further, like a dandelion seed on an eternal breeze. Before you slip fully into sleep, one last image settles in your mind. The universe as a great dark ocean, and you as a small boat resting on its surface. The current beneath you is invisible, but it moves you all the same. Galaxies are other boats, gliding silently in all directions. No collisions, no edges, just an endless drift powered by a force that whispers but never shouts. The dark energy drift is the softest lullaby of all. It reminds you that the universe is vast, patient, and always moving, and that your quiet presence within it is part of that eternal gentle motion. You drift onward, feeling the soft current of the dark energy drift carrying you into a future so distant that the concept of now begins to dissolve. Around you, the galaxies have thinned, The grand web of filaments and clusters you once floated through in your imagination has stretched, pulling its luminous knots ever farther apart. The night feels wider, quieter, and more private. You are entering the era of cosmic isolation, a time when the universe begins to gently close its curtains, leaving each island of light alone in the vast dark. Take a slow, calming breath, and let your mind adjust to this solitude. At first, the emptiness seems absolute, like standing on a deserted shore under a moonless sky. But as your eyes adjust, you realize that a few sparks remain, the galaxies bound together by gravity, too close to be swept entirely apart. Here lies your local group, the Milky Way, Andromeda, the Magellanic Clouds, and the small sprinkling of companion dwarfs, like a miniature archipelago in an ocean that has swallowed all other continents. Imagine this future. The Milky Way and Andromeda have already merged, forming a single colossal galaxy, sometimes called Milkdromeda, a slow and stately pinwheel of hundreds of billions of stars. The dance of gravity has brought them together over billions of years, and now in this far-off era, their combined light glows against a deepening black. Outside this island of stars, the universe stretches and stretches, but its stories are vanishing from view. Scientists have long imagined this distant epoch, and their predictions carry a soft melancholy. Dark energy will continue to accelerate the expansion of space. Every distant galaxy outside the local group will eventually cross our cosmic horizon. Their light, stretched to extreme redshifts, will fade into undetectable wavelengths. To any observer born in that far future, the night sky will seem deceptively small. They will see only their home galaxy, and perhaps a few dim companions, and they may never know that the universe was once a rich ocean of trillions of galaxies. There is a quirky truth in this thought, a historical irony that makes your drowsy mind smile. We, alive in this era of cosmic history, are privileged. We can still see the universe in its fullness, still study the faint light from billions of years ago, still trace the cosmic web across nearly 46 billion light-years of space. In the far future, cosmic isolation will erase these vistas. Future astronomers peering into the dark might conclude that the universe is static and small, just as our ancestors once did. They will have no evidence to guess the grand truth we can glimpse tonight. As you drift in this imagined solitude, you begin to feel the rhythm of the slow cosmic fade. The isolation is not sudden, it comes like twilight. One light at a time dimming into memory, a galaxy slips beyond the horizon. Another's light stretches until it becomes a whisper in the radio band, then vanishes entirely into silence. The night grows deeper, but it is not frightening. It is the kind of darkness that invites introspection, that cradles your thoughts instead of scattering them. A fringe but poetic thought arises. Perhaps cosmic isolation is the universe's way of encouraging inward reflection. When all external lights have drifted away, what remains is your own luminous island, and the awareness that existence itself is a kind of lantern. Somewhere, a being, maybe human, maybe something unimaginable, will look up at that sparse future sky and feel small, but also connected to a continuity that began with the first flicker of light 13.8 billion years ago. Your breathing slows as this feeling deepens. You can almost hear the silence of the future, a silence so vast it feels like the sound of time itself passing. The galaxies that remain are like old friends gathered around a campfire after everyone else has gone home. Their light is warmer for its rarity, and their companionship more profound for its isolation. Let your mind wander across this archipelago of stars, sail among the nebulae of Milkdromeda, watch the quiet orbit of dwarf galaxies circling like loyal companions. Beyond their halo lies nothing your eyes can see, only a black so pure that it feels like the background of a dream. The knowledge that countless galaxies still exist beyond the horizon does not change the feeling. To you, here and now in this imagined drift, they are gone, and the universe has become a private, intimate space. This slow isolation carries a lullaby of its own. There is no hurry in the fading. Each step takes billions of years. Each vanishing light is a sigh, not a scream. You begin to feel that your own thoughts are part of this pace, stretching into the dark as gently as the galaxies themselves. Before sleep fully claims you, one last image settles into your mind, like the closing page of a book. You are lying on your back in the middle of a cosmic lagoon, surrounded by a few loyal stars, while the rest of the universe has drifted out of sight. The water beneath you is space-time itself, calm and endless. You are weightless, patient, and unafraid. Cosmic isolation is not loneliness. It is the ultimate quiet, the soft exhale of a universe that has given you every story it could before finally letting you rest. You drift deeper into this imagined cosmos, and now the loneliness of isolation softens into something far more intimate. Here, in this hushed chapter of the universe, the lights that remain are not just distant galaxies, they are the stars and worlds closest to you, the tiny points of brilliance that remind you that life, for all its fragility, is a luminous thread in the darkness. This is the era of human lanterns, where your thoughts become part of the glow, and your story is woven into the fading light of the cosmos. Take a slow, measured breath. Imagine your body, warm and small, adrift in a universe that has become quiet and still. Around you, the remaining galaxies, perhaps only the merged Milkdromeda and its satellites, shine like a handful of fireflies in an infinite field. All other galaxies have slipped beyond the horizon, their light forever stretched into silence. Yet here you are, floating in the company of stars that once cradled life, and imagining that even in such vast stillness, your own existence adds a faint glow to the story of the cosmos. In the soft theatre of your mind, you can picture the last pockets of life in this future. Perhaps human descendants, or something that has grown from humanity, live among the stars of this merged galaxy. They are the keepers of memory, the lanterns that flicker when the universe itself grows dim. Their worlds orbit suns that will, one by one, exhaust their fuel. When that happens, new stars may still be born from colliding remnants or the slow collapse of cold clouds of gas, but the pace will be glacial, measured in trillions of years. A quirky truth settles into your thoughts. Even now, as you lie in your bed or your quiet room listening to this bedtime story, your body is made of light's memory. Every atom of calcium in your bones, every atom of iron in your blood, was forged in a star that lived and died long before Earth was born. You are a walking lantern of stardust, a brief flare of consciousness in a universe that has been mostly silent, mostly dark for almost all of its life. In cosmic terms, to exist at all is to shine. Scientists still argue over the ultimate fate of this light. Some believe that black holes will eventually swallow the last stars, and over incomprehensible spans of time, even black holes will evaporate, leaving behind only faint radiation. Others imagine that quantum fluctuations, the same restless whispers that started the universe, might give rise to new sparks of energy in an otherwise quiet cosmos. Yet in every model, there are moments, entire eras where life, if it exists, becomes the only active light in a universe that seems to sleep. Imagine drifting now through the merged glow of Milkdromeda. You pass by the glittering remnants of suns, some warm and golden, others reduced to cold white dwarves, glowing like dying embers. Between the stars lie the traces of human effort, satellites long frozen, signals that once raced through the void, fragments of a species that once reached for the sky. Perhaps in this vision, a small colony of light still burns on a planet far from Earth, orbiting a modest star that will last trillions of years. Their lamps, their fires, and even their thoughts are the last human lanterns, flickering against eternity. A fringe but soothing idea slips into your imagination. Maybe the act of observing, of wondering, is itself a form of cosmic illumination. The universe, without consciousness, is beautiful but indifferent. With a single mind, yours now, here, it becomes a story, a poem, a lullaby. In the quiet future you are visiting in thought. Perhaps the last thinking being will look up at the sparse stars and feel the same soft awe you feel tonight. In that gaze, the cosmos will briefly see itself. Your breathing slows, and your mind begins to glow with the warmth of this realization. You are small, yes, but not insignificant. You are part of a chain of light that stretches backward to the first stars and forward into the far future of a quieter universe. Every heartbeat, every thought is a tiny lantern that flickers and then passes its glow onward, even if only in memory, even if only as stardust drifting through a darkened sky. You let the image settle fully, a universe almost empty, a sky with just a few loyal stars, and somewhere a small island of life carrying its torch. Perhaps they gather under a sky that has grown almost black and tell stories of the ancient universe, of the age when galaxies filled the night. They will speak of infinity, of loops, of the whispering breath of inflation, of dark energy's patient hand, and they will know that they are lanterns in the night, brief but meaningful. Before sleep tugs at the edges of your awareness, one final vision flickers. You see yourself as part of that chain, a single point of consciousness, glowing quietly in a story far larger than yourself. You do not need to last forever. You only need to shine for a moment, and that moment becomes part of the eternal lullaby of the cosmos. The thought is warm, it is soft, it lets you relax completely. Out in the vast darkness, your small lantern of awareness is enough to join the grand, timeless constellation of stories that the universe carries with it, even as it drifts into an age of solitude. You drift into the final stage of your journey, where thoughts dissolve into the softest edges of sleep, and the universe itself seems to hum a lullaby only for you. All the infinite vistas, the balloons and trampolines of space-time, the loops without edges, the vanishing neighbours, and the human lanterns have led you here to the gentle hush of fading into forever. Take one more slow, deep breath. Feel the weight of your body sink into your pillow, as if gravity itself is whispering goodnight. Above you, though, above has no real meaning here. The universe stretches without boundary. All the galaxies you have drifted past in your mind's voyage now seem like tiny sparks in an endless calm night. They are fading not in fear or in loss, but in grace, like the final notes of a lullaby lingering in the air before silence completes the song. Imagine yourself lying on a small raft in an infinite still ocean. The water is space-time, soft and supportive beneath you. Around you, the last few lanterns of the cosmos glow faintly, perhaps the merged milk Andromeda, perhaps a few stubborn stars burning their final fuel. Beyond them, the darkness is complete, yet it is not empty. It is full of memory, of light that has passed, of stories that have been told across billions of years. You feel no need to move. Motion is no longer a requirement in this place. There is a quirky, almost whimsical truth here that makes your mind smile softly. The universe, in all its vastness and mystery, does not require your understanding to continue. It will drift, expand and fade whether you are awake or asleep, and in that realization is a profound comfort. You are allowed to rest because the cosmos itself is resting, exhaling slowly into forever. Scientists still argue over how this final fade will play out. Some say the stars will exhaust their fuel, leaving black dwarfs, neutron stars and black holes as the last glowing embers. Others imagine a heat death, a soft and uniform darkness where energy is evenly spread and nothing changes for trillions upon trillions of years. A few whisper of more exotic endings, a big rip where dark energy stretches space so quickly that even atoms cannot hold together, or a cyclic universe that one day breathes in again. But tonight, those debates are only distant echoes. Tonight, all that matters is that the universe is calm and you are safe within it. Let your thoughts soften into the final drift. The galaxies you imagined visiting are now so far away that their light will never return. Your local island of stars has grown quiet, and even the hum of the cosmic microwave background has stretched into a sigh too low to hear. Yet none of this feels lonely. You are not abandoned by the cosmos. You are held in it, as you have been since the first atoms formed, as you will be until the last photon glides through the dark. A fringe and comforting thought arises. In some sense, you are already eternal. The atoms of your body were born in stars, scattered through space, and gathered into the form that now rests in a quiet room on a quiet planet. When you exhale, you return part of yourself to the same universe that has carried you all this way. Even when your light goes out, you will remain a part of the fabric that continues to drift into forever. Close your eyes in this vision. Picture the final stage of the journey. The last lanterns dimming, the universe stretching into a serene, unbroken ocean of calm. You are floating, unhurried, weightless, a single small spark of awareness in the grandest story ever told. The question you began with, does space ever end, no longer needs an answer. Whether infinite or finite, looping or expanding, the universe feels endless enough for your dreams. Your breathing is slow now. The stars have faded in your imagination. You feel the edges of sleep rise up like a warm tide, carrying you gently into the same silence that cradles the cosmos. All the questions, all the wonders, dissolve into the softest whisper. Rest now, you are part of forever. And now, as the last image of the cosmos drifts across your imagination, the pace of your thoughts slows to match the long exhale of the universe itself. Your mind is quiet, your body heavy, your breath deep and even. Let every part of you loosen, as if the very fabric of space-time is a hammock rocking you gently to sleep. Picture the final glow of the last star, a distant lantern flickering one more time before it goes dark. Even as it fades, the universe holds no malice. It simply continues, patient and vast, a cradle that never lets go. You are part of that cradle. Every atom of your body has journeyed through this cosmic story, forged in the hearts of stars, scattered across interstellar winds, and gathered now into a single moment of awareness. The night around you feels infinite, but it is soft, not cold. Infinity is no longer an intimidating thought. It is a warm ocean that accepts you without question. Here there is no hurry, no edges to fear, no end to fall from, just the endless drift, the eternal hum of existence that asks nothing from you except to rest. Take one more deep, calm breath. Feel the safety of your small world, the softness of your bed, and the distant embrace of a universe that will keep on singing, even after your awareness surrenders to sleep. Good night, traveller of stars. Your journey is complete, the cosmos is quiet, and you are home.